I want to take a moment to thank everybody that's attending, to everybody that's online, sharing the information, sharing the event. We've had, I want to say about 200 plus registered attendees. Your support, your help, your awareness makes all the difference. To those of you who are here today, some from afar, some from around the corner, we thank you as well. Can you give yourselves a round of applause too, please? All right. I make everybody clap because I want to make sure everybody's woke up for this information. There's a lot of good stuff here today. Today marks a day of a historical change. Today symbolizes progress. And today is just an opportunity for everyone across the entire nation to understand some of the challenges that we face and how we can address them. I want to thank Liana Barrett, the Director of Operations of the National Parents Organization, and the team at Right Path for making this event a success. Let's please give them a round of applause too as well. Your hard work and consistent effort is what helps make these moments possible. It helps make the changes that we're going to see, and of course the changes that you're going to see as far as today goes. I do want to thank all of the attendees online who have supported the National Parents Organization since its inception, to all of our allies and partners. And today we're going to see some of the numbers and how things have changed over the years. We'll learn that some states are updating their laws to align with the best scientific research on child well-being and with modern patterns of parenting. Unfortunately, the narrative has overridden the actual reality, but today is an opportunity to change it around. Narratives of fathers not being as involved, narratives of parents being more important based on their income, those narratives are going to be addressed and changed today, thanks to the work of our National Parents Organization and our allies. We'll learn that many state legislators are still operating on an old, outdated models and separating parents. However, this information will help us target those states and give you information and insight and statistics on how we can make those changes. One of the most important things I like to highlight about the National Parents Organization is our primary focus is always going to be and always has been the best interest of the child. Over emotions, over feelings, the best interest of the child. When you have two loving and fit parents, the relationship may not always work, but the children still deserve both parents. Today, 2025, at this press conference, I'm excited to say that there is a way for change. There is a way for progress. There is identified solutions to make families thrive once again. We have some guest speakers that are coming up today. We have a great event for you all today. And we hope that after you leave this event today, you leave with the idea of hope, with the idea of change, and we hope that you'll get involved because everybody knows somebody that's going through this challenge in family court. At this moment, I'd like to actually introduce a video from the one and only Warren Farrell. He's a political scientist and author of The Boy Crisis and the Father and Child Reunion. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the video. Please take a moment to enjoy, and if you're at home, take a moment to enjoy as well.
I'm really happy to be with NPO today. When I first submitted the proposal to my publisher for the Boy Crisis book, I outlined 10 probable causes of the boy crisis. I found out, though, that most of those were contributors, but not really causes. The only one that rose to the level of being a cause was dad deprivation of the biological dad. I discovered that the boy crisis resides where the biological dad does not reside. As I looked more deeply, I saw that there were more than 50 life disasters or depleters of life that both girls and boys experience when they don't have their dads involved. However, boys experience them more intensely because they don't have a same-sex role model and they don't have the socialization to express their feelings more freely. They feel, therefore, more isolated and lonely. As a result, I found that dad deprivation is the single biggest predictor of male suicide. Also of males dropping out of high school, of being addicted to drugs, alcohol, being addicted to video games, being addicted to porn. of boys being unemployed and boys ending up in prison. When I ran for governor of California, I spoke to a number of prison populations. I asked each prison population the question, did you have an actively involved dad? Only about 10% of the prisoners said they had an actively involved dad. Dad involvement is both a Republican issue and a Democratic issue, which is why the Florida House of Representatives voted unanimously with every single Republican and every single Democrat voting to contribute $70 million to help dads and moms understand the importance of dad involvement to their children. Dad deprivation is also a women's issue. Single moms are almost always overwhelmed. When dads are involved, they develop the emotional bonds with the children that creates an incentive for the children to obey the boundary enforcement that dads tend to set. And that boundary enforcement leads to the children having more discipline and more postponed gratification. Postponed gratification is the single biggest predictor of success or failure. I explain the dynamics of this between moms and dads that can help both mothers and fathers and the children. Dad deprivation is a women's issue because moms lose from being overwhelmed. Dads lose from losing their one source of love and connection and purpose after a divorce. And children lose because when the courts work from the perspective of moms have the right to children and dads have to fight for children, children lose the benefits they receive from having both parents in their lives. To give children both their mom and their dad, even after divorce, is the single biggest gift we can offer the next generation.
Our efforts have helped to shift the conversation from blame and exclusion to inclusion and shared responsibility. Over the years, the courts have begun to recognize that a parent's value isn't measured by their income, but by their love, by their support, and their involvement. Across the country and across the world, there's a growing movement towards shared parenting and fairer laws in family court. New initiatives like the National Parents Organization's report card are shining a light on areas for improvement and giving the states like my home state, New York, a clear path forward. Judges are slowly, I want to highlight that, judges are slowly but surely seeing fathers and both parents as caregivers, not just providers, and reforms are underway to ensure that both parents have the opportunity to nurture and guide their children. Today we stand proud. We have the tools, we have the data, and the collective will to demand better. We are seeing courts attempt new approaches that emphasize cooperation, early resolution, and the voice of the children. We're seeing more families find peaceful solutions outside of the courtroom, supported by mediation and early legal advice. These changes are making a difference, and this is just the beginning. The advocacy work of the National Parents Organization and our allies is opening doors for parents and children who once felt powerless. Our love for our children is the driving force behind every step forward. We're not just fighting for justice. We're building a future where every child can count on the love and support of both parents, no matter their relationship circumstances. I thank the National Parents Organization for their tireless dedication and hard work. And to every one of you, whether you are here with us in person or joining us virtually, thank you for standing together with us today. While the journey continues, today marks a powerful moment where the voices of the tired fathers, crying children, resilient parents, understanding mothers, and the once falling system is finally being heard and transformed. We will give our children a better world by replacing emotions with data, feelings with facts, and personal agendas with what truly matters. And that's the well-being of our most vulnerable and precious population, our children. As I mentioned, we have a lot of allies that we've worked with over the years. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mark Ludwig. He's a founder of Americans for Equal Shared Parenting, the author of The Insider's Guide to Passing State Legislation, and a tireless advocate for family law reform.
Greetings from St. Louis. I wish I could be there with you in Washington, D.C. today. Unfortunately, my schedule wasn't able to make that work. But I tell you what, I want to say a big thank you and hello to everyone in Washington, D.C., to all of you that are watching online. What a great day it is for National Parents Organization. You know, NPO has been around for over 20 years as the premier leader in the shared parenting community, starting back with Ned Holstein, and then passing on to Don Hubin. And I'll tell you what, Don has been great to work with. Don and I talk at least once a month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. And I absolutely love the relationship that we're able to have with NPO and with Don Hubin. But they've been able to have their shared parenting report card, the research that they've had, the conferences they've put on, and the track record they have. The first state in the country, led by Matt Hale, to pass a rebuttable presumption was Kentucky. And then Missouri. Linda Reutzel was the one who started everything in Missouri, and bless her heart, 9 years we worked at that, but through a lot of persistence and a lot of the, as I said, getting it started with Linda, we were able to get Missouri passed. But I tell you what, I am very excited about NPO and glad to be able to partner with them. Every once in a while I get people that say, you know, why don't you do your own research? Guys, we're not in competition. And why would you compete when you've got the best of the best? National Parents Organization has the best research that I've found, and their shared parenting report card is a genius idea. I've been to 35 states around the country, done over 300 TV and radio interviews, and every chance I get, I point people to the NPO website and to the NPO shared parenting report card. So for those of you that are in Washington, D.C., and those of you watching online, I'm glad that you're able to witness this. To those of you with NPO, to Don and Matt and Linda and the others of you that are on the board, I want to let you know, on behalf of the entire shared parenting community, we are darn grateful to have you as the premier leader in the shared parenting community. Thanks for all you do, and we'll look forward to continuing to collaborate in the future.
We have a guest here today that I'm excited to bring onto the microphone to say a few words. I'm inspired by her work. I'm inspired by her dedication and her commitment and just her overall energy. She's just an awesome, awesome, awesome person. So I'd like to Emma Johnson say a few words, the founder of Moms for Equal Parenting.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you, Andre, and thank you, NPO, for your work and your success. I echo the sentiment in this room. This is a beautiful time to be working on these issues. Family law reform, we now have, depends on how you count them, I count Arizona, so let's say 6 states, right? 6 states where we have a rebuttable presumption of equal parenting. But more than that, I hear from parents, moms, all around the country who, well, first they're like, well, okay, you want me to buy your book, but who cares about your book? Everybody I know does equal parenting. Why did you have to write a whole book about it? Now, this is still the minority, right? But it is astonishing to me. I've been working in this space for about 10 years now. And the amount of positive change is snowballing. Younger parents with young kids who are separating, just do 50-50. And this, it's like a virus, like the most beautiful virus you can imagine. It just happens organically in a community. Maybe it's an advocate judge that starts it, that affects the judiciary and the legal advice people get. Maybe it's just parents having common sense. They've been through 2 and 3 generations in their family of really ugly separations and divorce. And there's macro changes that are happening. We have gender equality. By some measures, we have gender equality. We are snowballing and barreling towards success in that regard. Meanwhile, over the last few years, we've been we've had this enormous interest and recognition of men's and boys' issues. Richard Reeves, I'll give him a shout out about his book, Boys and Men. We're finally recognizing that feminism, frankly, maybe took a step too far, and we've alienated half of our population that is being recognized, because equal parenting at its root is a fatherhood issue. We have failed to recognize the importance of men in our children's lives and fatherhood. So as we're coming together, as again, young people are organically recognizing the benefits of equal parenting, they are doing it. The law is woefully, woefully behind. Now, as it's happening organically, now we have the opportunity for incredible research. We have data in the United States and in parts of Europe, have whole communities where the majority of families who live separately are doing 50-50. So guess what? We don't have to make a big assumptions or talk about shared parenting or approximately. We can talk about 50-50 in real, actual, factual terms. What's happening? Fewer and fewer families go to family court when there's equal parenting presumptions. Domestic violence goes down. Child abuse, substantiated rates of child abuse goes down when parenting time is presumed to be 50-50 when parents live separately. Gender equality improves. In communities where there is equal parenting presumptions, not just in the separated families, but all families, women work and earn more, and dads are more involved in childcare. So this to me is like the most beautiful feminist, progressive idea in the whole world. Here we have policy that is zero cost, folks. It is free. It requires zero resources, zero public funds, zero private funds, and people are doing it already. And what happens? We have all the change that we've been fighting for, right? So what's getting in the way? What is getting in the way? I would say a whole bunch of things. The law is getting in the way. We're making inroads there. Our attitudes are getting in the way. And this is where I see opportunity for every single person that is watching this and in the world, because let's get real. We may be a small but mighty group here, but equal parenting, separated families, child welfare, this touches every single person. You will not meet a person in humanity that does not have a personal point of reference for separated families. Your family, your best friend's family, somebody has a point of reference for equal parenting. And this is an opportunity for every single person to be an advocate. There is an opportunity when your friend is going through a divorce, when your brother is considering separation, somebody's pregnant in a less than optimal situation. There is an opportunity to meet people where they are. Recognize the very, very real and powerful social pressures that they face. Moms face pressure to be primary breadwinners. That pressure is real and powerful. Dads face pressure to be the primary breadwinner in an environment where that's less and less an opportunity. That is very real, powerful opportunity. It's a world where, as Warren pointed out, men have fewer and fewer fatherhood role models. Meeting people where they are as individual people, as a friend, as a brother, as a cousin, as a neighbor, it's like, I see where you are, but let's talk about 50-50. You don't have to duck out just because you're the dad. You don't have to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in family court with lawyers, all this nonsense because you're the mom. There is this other way. And I've said it before, and I'll say this to my grave, 50-50 is the future. Younger people are doing it. And if you're not doing it, your kids will do it, and they will look back and judge you. And this issue is like our grandmothers who smoked and drank during their pregnancies. Like, right, it was doctor advised, but we're like, what the heck were you doing? That was insane. That is how your kids will grow up and judge you. And that's another social pressure that we can wield, and that is real. And I will leave you with that. Everybody that is watching this has the power to be a positive force in the world in this regard. And at Dawn's request, I'm going to share a bit of personal news. You can't see in the room, but I have my longtime partner is here to join me, Mitch, and also my very best friend in the world, Kirsten. And Kirsten's in town from the West Coast because I'm getting married on Saturday to Mitch, in case that's not clear. And Saturday, I did not even realize it's shared parenting day. So here I spent my whole career on equal parenting, and I'm also not being a single mom anymore on shared parenting day. So I think that's a nice little tidy bow. And I will leave you to that and enjoy the rest of the breakout sessions.
Now you can see why I said she has a great spirit and great energy. Thank you so much, Emma, for sharing your words. Congratulations to you as well, getting married on. So we know that you'll be with us on your anniversary, I'm assuming. Thank you so much. So I do want to say to all of the advocates out there and the people who are going to gain some information and knowledge today, if you want to be a part of the change, if you want to be an advocate, if you want to be an ally or just support the movement, please check out the website, shareparenting.org, for more information and learn how you can help make the change that we're discussing this afternoon. It's been a lot of work. I really want to let's give a round of applause to Mr. Don Hubin, please, for his hard work. You know, in this world of shared parenting and equal parenting, so many have experienced, downfalls from the experience in family court, and they give up. But to see someone like Don, who's, advocated for change, that's going to impact and have a positive effect on thousands, millions of people around the nation and even around the world, and being consistent about it means a lot. So thank you for all you're doing, Don, and the National Parents Organization. With that being said, I got a little emotional right there because Don, it's just, the organization has done so much, and the research to help navigate the system with factual information over feelings, I believe, is a powerful, powerful move towards progress. So without further ado, at this time, I would let's see what we have next. We have a video from Judge Michael Wood Pence. So at this time, I'd like everybody to really pay attention to what this judge is saying. She's an experienced judge, and this means a lot. So I'll turn it over now to Judge Michael Wood Pence.
Hi, I'm Micah Pence. I'm family court judge in Barron and Metcalfe County, the 43rd Circuit here in Kentucky. And I understand that you all are considering the shared or equal parenting time legislation that was passed in Kentucky in 2018. First of all, let me just warn you, we weren't happy. As lawyers, as judges, that was the year I took the bench after 10 years practicing custody and family law. But boy, was I wrong. It has been an absolute blessing to be able to see people become more active in their children's lives. What were we thinking before with using a system that only gave one parent every other weekend and 1 day a week? That's just not enough time with your children. Not if you're a good parent. And oftentimes children do have two great parents that love them and want to spend time with them. And so the equal parenting time really kind of works itself out, just like you would in a marriage or if two parents were together. You adapt the way your work schedule is so that you can both cover time caring for the child. And that's what we've seen happen now with the shared and equal parenting time. And one of the biggest benefits is how much the family can come together. In my generation, it was so often that a father was replaced by a stepfather just because of the time that the child would spend with that person in their home. And we don't see that anymore. We see a child get to have a successful relationship with two parents. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's actually cut down on the time we spend in court. Because as a parent, if you tell me I'm only going to get to see my child every other weekend and 1 day a week, and that if I then go to court and fight it, that's still the worst that's going to happen, then by golly, I'm going to fight. And so now we've seen that there's not as much reason to fight if you're looking at the best interest of the child. I understand the presumption is scary, and we were worried about that too. Luckily, we received a little bit of instruction from our appellate court, and all it takes is that it be in the best interest of the child to overcome the presumption of equal parenting time. And sometimes that's distance. But the real quality of that is that you're looking at this child and not making one rule that fits every child or every family. We're in an area that has a lot of factories, and there are a lot of different schedules for those factory shifts that parents will work different so that they always have one of them with a child. And they did that in their marriage, and now it's encouraged to continue. We've also seen employers adapt and be willing to change work schedules, extend days so that a parent can have an extra day off a week so that they can spend that with their child. It's been amazing to see a community adapt and for these children to have two loving parents always by their side. I'm happy to help with any trainings, to share any tips with your judges, or to give you more information if you need it. And good luck.
Thank you, Judge Pence. Much, much appreciated. Hearing it from her means a lot. So at this time, I have the privilege, I have the honor to introduce Chair of the National Board of National Parents Organization and co-author of the 2025 NPO Shared Parenting Report Card. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a warm and appreciative welcome for Don Hubin.
Well, thank you, Andre. You embarrassed me. You made me blush. But thank you for your kind words. I want to get right to it in the interest of time. So without preliminary comments, let me get going on what the Shared Parenting Report Card is and what it tells us here. First, some basics. Shared parenting is an arrangement where both parents continue to have equal standing in the raising of their children, even though they're living apart, so the children can benefit from the guidance of each of the parents. And it also means that they share substantially in the parenting time, at least 1/3 for each parent. At NPO, we talk about equal shared parenting, the 50-50 solution. And by that, we mean that the children spend substantially equal time with each of their parents. Why does shared parenting matter? Well, shared parenting is a win-win-win arrangement. And what I mean by that is it's better for moms, and Emma has talked about that just a bit, and her book, The 50-50 Solution, talks about it quite a bit more. This is a very important aspect of shared parenting. It's better for dads. We know that the health of dads is improved when they have relationships with their children. Divorced fathers are 10 times as likely to commit suicide as divorced mothers. That's significantly higher than the base rate of suicide for men and women. And it's the estrangement from the children that causes that. And most importantly, and as Andre said, the focus of NPO is it's better for children. We have now more than 40 years of research that speaks as univocally as any research does in social science that children do best when both parents are actively involved in raising them if the parents are living apart. On virtually every metric of child well-being, they do about as well as children raised in intact marriages, and they do much better than children raised in the old sole custody model. The Shared Parenting Report Card is a report card not on the courts and not on the prevalence of shared parenting in the state. It's a report card on the legislature. It evaluates the state statutes on the degree to which they promote shared parenting. So I really want to underscore this because people sometimes misunderstand. They say, well, our courts aren't awarding shared parenting that much, but you got a fairly high grade. It means the legislature's done its job, but the courts may not be doing their job. The report card doesn't report on the prevalence of shared parenting. Unfortunately, current Census Bureau categories don't allow us to say how frequent shared parenting is. There are studies that are done, limited studies and so forth, but the Census Bureau has rough categories that don't allow us to speak authoritatively about how prevalent shared parenting is, although we do have some research on that. And it is not a report card on the courts because we don't have reliable nationwide data on how frequently courts are ordering shared parenting. It is, as I said, a report card on the legislatures. It has been a model for international work. The International Council on Shared Parenting is preparing to publish a European shared parenting report card later this year based on the NPO report card. And there is a report card underway for Canada as well. Now, we've done shared parenting report cards in 2 previous years. In 2014, we did the first shared parenting report card. In 2019, we did a shared parenting report card, and now we have the 2025 shared parenting report card. I want to caution that it's not appropriate to do precise state-level comparisons between these different reports because the methodology of the report card changed between 2014 and 2019. So some states' grades changed slightly, even though there weren't changes in their legislation. And furthermore, between 2019 and 2025, there were several states that were reevaluated. We found elements of their legislation that caused us to change the grades there. But nevertheless, we have clear evidence of significant progress in shared parenting legislation. And importantly, all of the legislative changes in the US since 2014, when we did the first report card, have been positive changes promoting shared parenting. There has not been retrenchment anywhere. So this is this compares the grades of the states whose grades change between 2019 and 2025, and you'll see that 4 of these states, the change was as a result of reassessment of the statutes. But in 4 states, in Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, and West Virginia, the change was because of significant and powerful legislation that created a legal presumption of equal shared parenting. And all of those states went from having a grade in the C range to a grade in the A range. Here's a larger historical perspective here, including the 2014 report card. And I want to highlight that between 2014 and 2025, the number of states that had grades in the A-B range doubled from 8 to 16. And between 2019 and 2025, the number of states that received A's tripled from 2 to 6. This is signs of significant progress in shared parenting legislation. Unfortunately, there are states that are stuck in the D and F range that have not changed. So a little bit about the methodology. We reviewed the child custody statutes in all 50 states in the District of Columbia. We evaluated the degree to which these statutes promoted shared parenting based on 25 criteria. And we developed and applied an algorithm for weighting those factors to determine the overall grade for the state's child custody statutes. What factors were we evaluating the states on? Well, first, is there a permission in the statutes for courts awarding shared parenting? Now, you might think, how is it possible that there's no permission? But 2 states, including Andre's state of New York, which he's working hard to change, and Rhode Island, thank you, Rhode Island, have no provisions in their state statutes for shared parenting. Now, the courts in those 2 states can award shared parenting, but it's only because higher level courts have said that it's possible for them to do that. The legislatures have not made any changes there. So the first criterion is permission. The next is policy. Do the statutes include a policy encouraging or endorsing shared parenting? Now, that's just words, but sometimes those words guide courts, and so we think that's valuable. Next, is there a preference for shared parenting? And there are various ways the state's statutes can express a preference for shared parenting. Sometimes the statutes instruct the courts to consider different parenting models in a certain order. First, shared parenting, second, sole custody, something like that. That's one way of doing it. But finally, is there a presumption of shared parenting? And that's what we're working to get. We want all 50 states in the District of Columbia to have a rebuttable presumption of equal shared parenting. Now, we have some secondary evaluative factors we looked at in those states that have a presumption of shared parenting. First, we asked, is there a domestic violence exception, as there should be? But secondly, is there a family court-based remedy for cases of false allegations of violence? Because one of the concerns is that there's a presumption of equal shared parenting, and that can be rebutted only if there's, or it can be rebutted most effectively by a case of allegation of domestic violence. You want to make sure you're not letting those strategically made allegations guide the courts there. And then finally, is there a requirement for courts to explain deviations from the presumption? So it's not just at will. The court has to say, here's why we didn't order shared parenting in this case. Now, there are some factors that are missing from the 2025 evaluation, but they're important in considering the state shared parenting statutes. And the first is, these are factors that don't weigh into the grading. They may in some future report card, but they are discussed in our report. And we talk about ways in which states could address these problems. And one is, are there specific provisions for addressing cases of parental alienation? Parental alienation refers to a situation in which one parent, without justification, poisons the child's relationship with the other parent. And there are some states who are leading the way in trying to combat parental alienation. Secondly, are there adequate mechanisms for enforcing parenting time orders? Because an order isn't worth much if it gets violated without any enforcement. And some states are doing much better than others in enforcing parenting time adjustments, and the report includes models for good parenting time enforcement. And finally, we look at some additional mechanisms for dealing with false allegations of domestic violence. The report card includes some discussion of that, but it's not as broad as we would like it to be, but we do discuss that in the report. So here are the state grades. I don't expect people to take this in from a single image here, but it is in the report card. The report card also, and this may be what's most helpful about it, for each state, it indicates the relevant statutes, the state grade, and importantly, the positives and negative features of those state statutes. And here, just as an example, is Alabama's. And this is really a guide for advocates in that state. What do our state statutes need to do? How do they need to be changed in order to support shared parenting? We also have an interactive online map that we update as there are changes in state statutes. And in the online version of this, if you mouse over or on the tablet select one of the states, it'll pop up and show you the information about that state, the positives and negatives about that particular state. So in summary, there's increasing scientific evidence of the value of shared parenting. I said we have 40 years of this research, and we get more and more every year compelling research done with various methodologies by various researchers, and it speaks with one voice that shared parenting is best for children when parents are living apart. And there's increasing frequency of parents choosing shared parenting, as Emma underscored. This is really the modern way of parenting when you're parenting separately. And we have dramatic improvement in several states' child custody laws, the four that I mentioned earlier. There are also, and we discussed it in the report, incremental improvements in a number of other states that have taken several steps towards promoting shared parenting. But there's a lot of work still to be done. There are many states where the legislation is lagging way behind the times, and we need to change those laws to bring them in line with modern ways of parenting and with the research we have on child well-being. So with that, I will thank you. And if you have questions about the report card itself, about how it was done, about the metrics, what the algorithm does and so forth, I would be happy to meet you with my co-author, George Peacecourt, in the breakout room devoted to that topic. Thank you very much.
I hate to break up Don's wonderful program here, but I forgot to include my most favorite metric of all time to illustrate what is happening out there in our communities. This comes from federal data, census survey, the number of people that are qualified to sign up for child support. I'll just speak in gender terms, moms. The number of moms who could sign up for child support but choose not to, it's down 34% over the last few years. Census Bureau surveyed them, why not? Why aren't you signing up? Top reasons include the dad already is financially involved as much as he can. Why would I want to be beholden to the government? Two, he takes care of the kids, so why should he have to pay child support? These are moms telling the system, we don't want your child support system. We don't want this old system. We are working out amongst ourselves. It's fair. The dad is important. To me, that says it all, and I could not live with myself if I didn't tell you all that.
Thank you.
Thank you both for all of the information. And as Don mentioned, you can find all of this information on the website. It's not, there's a lot of information to take in. We understand that, but we do want you to get a thorough look at everything that we're speaking of today. So please take a moment to do so. At this time, we're going to have some breakout rooms. So those of you who are at home, you can prepare yourselves to just jump on. And those of you who are here in person, you can sign on the link if you haven't already, so you can go into the rooms. And I believe we have about 4. The first breakout room is based on research, and that's going to be with Bill Fabricius, if I pronounce it correctly, PhD. So you can go in that room for more information. The second room is going to be based on the algorithm of the report card with George Pisker and Don Hubin himself as well. The third breakout room is going to be lived experience of shared parenting, and that's going to be with Emma Johnson, who we just seen speak, Megan and Michael Ozuna. And the fourth breakout room is legislative change at the state level, and that's going to be with Matt Hale, Linda Ruetzel, and Cam Hoofman. And the last breakout room is going to be focused on parental alienation, and that's going to be with Ginger Gentile. So please, at this time, for those of you who are at home, check out the breakout room that you'd like to learn more about, get more questions answered about, or just get a better understanding of. And those of you who are here, sign on to your links as well.